gonna
such a rush, my baby, slow down, come find your love. I'm hoping you see me, come serve it up. Loving when you stir it up, that body belong on TV. Oh, this feeling I can't hide. You're feeling up my mind, and I just don't know why. I just don't know why.
Good morning again, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Ivan Anderson, the CEO of the TransJam Group. With me this morning is Suzanne Brown, our CFO, and Colin Murray, our COO. Today we'll talk a little bit about our 2025 results, a year that tested us, tested our resilience, but despite the hurricanes of last year, TGH still performed well and had record profits. We'll talk obviously about the highlights of our financial performance for last year, talk a little bit about Hurricane Melissa and how it impacted our traffic and our revenue, go into details in terms of our quarterly performance and our yearly performance, talk a little bit about the new kid on the block, Phase 1C, Maypen to Williamsfield, and how that is doing relative to the targets that we had announced in our previous investor briefing. Talk a little bit about the fire that impacted us and how we are recovering, and then give everybody a chance to ask any questions that they want. So we are pleased to report that 2025 was a record year. Our profits were up to 36.6 million, 17% higher than last year, and the highest they have ever been. And this growth has happened despite approximately 3.5 million of revenues which were taken out of the fourth quarter as a result of Hurricane Melissa and the shutdown. And we'll talk a little bit more about how that affected individual plazas. The key message, however, is our resilience, our operating model, which continues to perform stronger than ever despite the adverse conditions. Total revenues also reached a record high of 91.1 million. And this is the fifth straight year that we have had double-digit growth in our revenues. 10% higher than they were last year. And again, another record in terms of revenues for TransJamaican Highways. Our traffic grew by 2.2%. From 28.6 million vehicles in 2024 to 29.2 million vehicles in 2025. And this despite approximately 1.08 million vehicles. Let me just say that number again. 1.08 million vehicles which passed through the plazas free in October and November of 2025. This slide shows how it affected the various plazas. So as I said, the total impact was 1.08 million. But in terms of the various plazas, Portmore lost about 560,000 vehicles. Vineyards lost 230,000 vehicles. Spanish Town lost 100,000 vehicles. And Maypen lost 190,000 vehicles. And when I say lost, it doesn't mean that the vehicles didn't travel on the highway, obviously. It just means that they didn't pay to travel on the highway. But the good news is, as you can see from the December quarter, traffic quickly rebounded. And so in December, we had the highest traffic and maybe 10% more traffic than we had in November, the previous month. Another achievement last year was a continued decline in traffic going through the manual lanes. So what you can see there is a graph which shows the number of vehicles going through our manual lanes, the lanes with the toll collectors. So 2021 grew 2022 continued to grow. 2023, it reached a peak. And then for the past 2 years, we've seen a continuous decline in traffic going through the manual lanes. What does that mean? Obviously, less congestion. So even though we have more traffic on the highway, we have less traffic being funneled through the manual lanes. And what does that mean, obviously? Less traffic, less congestion means shorter travel times, which means greater demand for the roadway. Finally, I also want to talk a little bit about our efforts to recover the $3.5 million that we lost due to the shutdown by the GOJ. And some people said, you know, you're making profit. Why are you worrying about $3.5 million? You're a big company now. You're one of the top 10 companies on the exchange. Why are you worrying about a little 3.5 million US? Well, here's why we worry about it. TJH is the largest owned company in Jamaica. We have over 40,000 shareholders. And the same shareholders, our same shareholders, the pensioners, the teachers, the nurses, are the people who own TJH. The same people who are affected by Hurricane Melissa are the same people who own TJH. And if you think about the 3.5 million in terms of our shareholders, it translates into $14,000 for every shareholder. That's what it means. So it's like you're taking $14,000 out of the pocket of every one of our shareholders, every one of our pensioners who contribute, every one of our nurses, every one of our teachers who contribute and who own shares in TJH. What does it also mean? It means that we no longer have 3.5 million US to pay down our, sorry, that should be Jamaican $30 billion debt. Let me just say that again. Most people don't realize it, but TJH has almost 200 million US of debt, or $30 billion of debt. And obviously the first priority for us, once we have dealt with the maintenance of the road, is obviously paying down our debt. And if we don't have the 3.5 billion, then obviously we're not able to pay down that debt. Final thing I want to highlight. We also don't remember that in the first 20 years of TJH's operation, maybe for 12 of these years, we lost money. And so the 3.5 million, or the profits that we're making today, is recovering from the 20 years, or the 12 of those 20 years when we were losing money over the past, between 2003 and 2022. Our attorneys, let me just say, maybe the foremost attorneys in this matter in Jamaica have advised us that these actions have breached our rights to the protection of our property. What does this mean simply? Every day the government has to acquire land, for example, when it is widening roads in the public interest. So if you live on the side of a road and the government needs to widen the road to 4 lanes, then the government compulsory acquires your land to build the road. And so it's a normal part of the operation of the government, is that where you do things in a national interest, then you have to compensate the person from whom you're taking these lands. And similar for the protections provided to any citizen of Jamaica. You cannot expropriate property or lands without compensation. And so that is why we continue to have discussions with the GOJ about how we go about receiving compensation for these shutdown which took place between October the 26th and November the 10th. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. Let me add my voice of welcome to you as well. I'm, as Mr. Anderson introduced us, but I'm Suzanne Brown. I am the CFO here on the TransJam Highway projects, and it is good to be here with you. All right, let me figure out how to grade. So I'm just going to run through some of the highlights. Mr. Anderson gave us a little bit of information already, and I'll just share some more. All right, so we're looking at our fourth quarter of 2025, and we'll start by looking at our overall performance in terms of P&L. So revenue for Q4, Q4 saw us with revenue of US 21.8 million, EBITDA of US 15.9 million, net profit of 8.6 million, and this is US, and an EBITDA margin of 73.2 million, and EPS there, $0.007 US. So we look at the numbers for the quarter and as well for the overall. So for Q4, revenue was 21.8 million, and this was down by 3%. As the last quarter of 2024, we ended with 22.4 million. On an overall basis, though, year to date, we were up by 10%, as Mr. Anderson said previously, and that's 91.2 million, comparing to the 82.8 million earned for 2024. And this is despite the impact, as Mr. Anderson said, of the 15-day toll suspension during I think the last 3 days of October going into November. This revenue performance, it depicts sustained traffic volumes across the network, even though we were impacted slightly. We had slight revenue disruption for the 15 days. In terms of net profit, so net profit for the quarter went down by 8%, $8.6 million US dollars compared to 9.3 million for the similar quarter in 2024. The good news is, on an overall basis, it was up 17%, and that's US 36.7 million for the year 2025, and this is comparing to 31.3 million in the previous year of 2024. And this is just depicting the resilience of our traffic volumes, and that translates into revenue, accompanied by disciplined cost management. In terms of EBITDA, so it's a little bit of the same news, down 12%, 15.9 million USD for the quarter, compared to 18.1 million for the previous quarter in 2024. But on an overall basis, up 8%, and that's 71.8 million USD, compared to 66.5 million for the previous year, 2024. And we're giving you a little snapshot here of our performance for the last 3 years, which just shows in an image the sustainability of both the revenue and net profit, as we have been saying throughout. We'll look a little bit at our statement of financial position. So for total assets, our total assets went up 299 million USD, and this is up from the 294 million we reported last year, December 2024. And this is reflecting an increase in intangible assets following the acquisition of the Phase 1C leg, which occurred last quarter. There was also a moderate increase in trade receivables and cash on bank. In terms of total liabilities, this went down by $12 million and was at $217.5 million US at year-end 2025. And this is reflecting the continued reduction in our principal as we on the secured notes as we make principal repayments on a quarterly basis. And there was also a redemption, early redemption of the preference share last year, June. In terms of equity, at the end of December 2025, equity was 81.9 million, and this includes our share capital of 27 million. And we're happy to report that our retained earnings increased to 55 million at the end of year end, and this is reflecting strong profitability over the year, net of total dividends of 20 million, which was declared last year, March and September, respectively. So finance costs, as we spoke about, that continues to trend down, which is a very positive sign. And our ability to repay debt was 3.1 times the debt coverage. So we are very pleased to share these results with you, and we thank you for your continued partnership. I'm going to hand over to Mr. Murray, who will go in details about a little bit more about Phase 1C, because I'm sure you're interested to hear a little bit more about that. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody live in attendance and those joining us through cyberspace. Happy Friday. All right. So again, 2025, the year in review. It's a stormy year, literally and figuratively, at the last part, but we weathered it, and in so doing, we also want to thank our patrons, our customers, and our investors. The confidence you have in the TransJam Highways is truly appreciated, and we are beholden to ensure that the returns that you expect of us as practical and as effectively as possible, we will ensure or try to ensure that that is realized. I'm going to touch on some other areas outside of raw numbers, but there is something else that we really need to appreciate in terms of the model that we operate under. We are keen adherents to ESG, environmental, social, and governance initiatives. Yes, we have fad words and fad concepts that have been emanating throughout the years in businesses, be it total quality management, be it corporate social responsibilities, and ESG. But we truly believe that our operations need to be reflective of the environmental considerations as well as social and philanthropic positions that we always, without hesitation, try to see what we can do. October 2025, we were visited upon by the most devastating hurricane ever to make landfall this region. Granted, our operations this side of the island were not materially impacted, but our customers, our brothers, our sisters, our shareholders, our public servants that are also investors in TransJamaica were impacted out in the West. As quickly and as vociferously in voice as the calls were for assistance, the TransJam group sat and with our shareholders and collectively with our staff, and $100 million was decided upon as a relief contribution effort towards sorry, the needed persons down that side of the world, in particular St. Elizabeth. The CEO and I did a physical tour of the area, and I mean, it has been said out there in the public domain. But what you see even on the fine technological efforts of even our hosts here today with the cameras, seeing the devastation live and direct, it's totally, totally different. So the extent of our compassion and initiative was quick and effective. And what did we do? How did we ensure that this thing was as transparent and as equitable as possible? We engaged the data and services of the state's agency that would be on the ground and would have identified the requisite qualifying beneficiaries. That is the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. At the end of the day, 2,400 qualifying beneficiaries were assisted. The project was quite a comprehensive one, which involved as well engaging the services of some university students to act as call reps that would validate, again I'll repeat, validate that these were indeed beneficiaries that were in need, and that there will be no duplication, and that there will be really and truly persons that should benefit. The project also involved the Jamaica Constabulary Force in ensuring that the materials as taken down and protected were there for genuine persons in need. We seconded staff from our operations, and we're talking about the reality in December, the end of the year, which is quite a busy time for everybody. And without blinking, we had persons that were on the ground and willing to go down there. We relocated persons from our team to stay down there in St. Elizabeth throughout the Christmas period and continuing into 2026. $100 million of effort must not just be taken lightly. So we ensured that the effectiveness was in place because we want to see persons, we are all humans, and our philosophical position has always been you must try to do good, because we think wholeheartedly that we do well by doing good. Okay, so at the end of the count, 2,401 or so individuals benefited, and I also want to thank the assistance. I mentioned the police, but the materials which was procured from H&L True Value, the zinc, the hurricane straps, and the supplies for the roofing. This periodic need to truck down the material was not an easy one, because it was timely and it was not done in one shot in terms of the delivery. Please remember as well that the wharves were bombarded by supplies coming in, and it really, the logistics management of this effort was truly tremendous, and I want to thank our people internally and those external persons that assisted. I would also want to thank Mr. Donovan Smith, the proprietor of Don's Motor World in Black River, who actually vacated the vehicles from his car business to give space for the relief distribution. It was not just ourselves who were on that property, but all other international relief agencies were also there. So we, as decent enough persons, will say there is a level of compassion that we really want to say thank you all for those that supported the initiative. I'll speak a bit as well about other matters that are worthy of noting for the last quarter of 2025. Of course, you know, we're big on convenience in terms of ensuring, either by way of vehicular passage throughput, or by way of the ability to ensure that your subscription tag account is managed, and that the convenience of being able to replenish the account will always be increasing and continually improved. So we would have recalled from the last investor session that yes, we made mention of the current ones, which would be the existing online platforms, the Go top-ups, the WhatsApp top-ups, and so on. And then we were on the verge of realizing another channel offering through GK's Bill Express, and we're pleased to say that that one came off the ground, went live in November, and what it means then that this additional platform through Bill Express will ensure that irrespective of whatever mode you operate under, be it a retail physical visit of their business or their GK1 platform, the GK1 platform is an added component that the company will be offering, and that also will offer the facility for the top-up, not just the regular Bill Express compartment of their business. Improvements all over, including as well the ability to move our position from, as best as possible, minimize the cash engagements that we have. We're trying to do our part in ensuring that we move into the realm of more digital payment means, and the safety component of it is one, the convenience side is another. But please also remember that from an environmental perspective, electronic tolling and passages, by the very nature of it, the throughput efficiency means that the limited options for stopping and slowing down means less environmental degradation by way of motor vehicle exhaust and so on. So what have we done? We have continually tried to move beyond. Remember, you will recall, we started the option of having credit card payments in the lane, but the reality is that that facility was not integrated with the toll system per se. It is like what obtains in any retail outlet now in Jamaica, where the cashier actually takes the credit card payment and process the sale at another level, meaning they're separated. At the end of the day, the reconciliation is a bit cumbersome, meaning you add up all those debit card slips, and then that is reconciled as as what was not cash collected. So we said, no, we want to integrate, and which also would mean that the processing time would be more efficient. So we started out with what we call the normal integration side of it, where the system will know after validation of your card, automatically open the barrier, instead of having the intervention of a toll teller to do that. So that is now in the final stage of testing. Thus far, 10 terminals have been dispatched throughout our 4 of the toll plazas. And we're working out some minor kinks now in terms of the final validation and testing. And again, this is the precursor to yet another improvement step, which would be tap and go. That is totally unattended transaction possibilities. You just drive up the lane, tap, voila, you're out of the lane. And that's the next phase for us. Again, speaking to the tremendous investment that the TransJam Group is making in technology. 2025 last quarter again, another important and critical milestone for us. Yes, the long-awaited Maypen to Williamsfield leg of the corridor was opened December 27th. So whilst we only had 4 days of traffic in 2025, and again that would be subdued traffic just by it's end of the year and it's the festive season. But I'm just going to give you a little sneak preview of what's the reality thus far in 2026. We are seeing actually the daily traffic for toll gate in January, 11,500 vehicles averaging per day. And what is also encouraging, albeit very early days, the tag utilization, the take-up, we're seeing in the region of 32.5% for the ramp and the mainline toll plaza. Again, let me just explain. This leg has 2 relatively close toll plazas, one which is on the main line heading down to Williamsfield and Mandeville, and another offshoot one that takes you back to the township of Tollgate proper. So there are 2 different toll plazas in relatively close proximity. So these 2 toll plazas combined, we are encouraged by the numbers thus far. And we estimate in the region of US 10 million additional to the TransJam revenue stream from the Maypen to Williamsfield leg. So we say, welcome to the club phase 1 season. Other ESG developments quickly. So we would have mentioned again in the last investor forum that we invest heavily in rainwater harvesting. So we try our best to do our part in optimizing what Mother Nature provides for us and recycling and reusing it. Internally, we set a target of 480,000 liters of annual utilization of harvested rainwater. We realized for 2025, 523,400 liters of usage. That is 109% betterment of the target. So again, we are very pleased with the results there, and we will continue to see what we can do with even for the Williamsfield leg of the operations to enhance the extraction or the capability of not having rainwater wasted, so that our resilience initiatives and efficiency for our operations will be maintained. Another one for us, an exciting one indeed. The investment was a tremendous one, and we have gone a step further with respect to our solar engagements, starting out at the Portmore Toll Plaza. So what have we done? We, beyond just the panel retrofitting of the buildings and the canopy of the toll lanes, we have installed a 514 kWh battery system in addition with 4 50 kilowatt hybrid inverters, and this was augmented by a further outlay of the panels, because this existing solar battery system would need additional panels. This investment was, in terms of crunching the numbers, an anticipation of a 35% reduction in our consumption from the public utility suppliers. Interestingly, thus far, we are seeing maybe a little better than that in terms of early days of crunching the results. For example, since the installation in the last quarter of 2025, our average consumption, which was in the region of 11 megawatt hours MWs, is now approximating to 4. And again, these are early days, but we do anticipate that the consumption savings will be real and materially real, in fact. Again, 2025, what a year. So in addition to Melissa, our TransJam suffered a blow as well with our unfortunate reality in the middle of December, where there was a fire at our corporate offices. Thankfully, nobody was hurt, no one was there. Notwithstanding, it was sufficiently wide-scale enough for us to relocate our persons, our staff, elsewhere. So, whilst we would do periodic visits to our toll plazas, we are now a little bit more present there, and we are thankful for Portmore and Vineyards for housing the corporate people. It's nice to join them on the ground. And so for the time being, that's where we are. But guess what? It's business as usual. We are still operationally on top of things. And all it means is that the C-suite is down there to have lunch and enjoy proper meetings with our staff on the ground. So the oversight still remains intact. That's business as usual. And this temporary arrangement will continue. We are aggressively scouting for new corporate head office space, and we expect that early enough this year we should be able to find suitable space. Thank you. Again, let's hope that 2026 we expect to come up here and speak wonderfully again, and again to thank you all for your confidence in us. We will make our endeavor best to ensure that we deliver on our promises and as well on your expectations. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. I'm sure you have a lot of questions. Jermaine, I can see you getting ready to ask. Let me just give you a sense of how we see 2026. So we're being a little bit more conservative in our projections for 2026. We've had the hurricane. The hurricane is going to affect GDP overall in the economy. Normally when GDP is affected, it also affects traffic as well. So we're being a little more conservative in our projections going forward in 2026. So we're projecting somewhere between 5 and 10% growth in our revenues for next year, and a similar projection, 5 to 10% growth in our profits for next year as well. Our traffic projections are between 0 and 3% for next year. Again, just being more conservative given the impact of Hurricane Melissa and the lag-on effect of the hurricane over the year. That was a question, Jeremy?
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Jermaine from Learn Grow Invest. So I have 3 questions. I'll keep it at 3. So the first one is, so there was the article from the Gleaner that came out about the same issue that you mentioned, the repayment from the government, the days that were missed in terms of revenue. Is there any realistic timeline for a resolution of that, and is it something that you can maybe offset maybe through maybe income tax or something that doesn't necessarily involve them giving you actual money, which I don't know how feasible you see that being?
Well, it's obviously early days yet. We have not had an opportunity to talk in detail. We have had one meeting so far. We have not had an opportunity to get into any negotiation yet. And so we're not in a position now to discuss those issues.
Okay. All right, the next one really has to do with, so you mentioned the word conservative, and that stood out to me, re 2026, because this is an important year for TransJamaica and its shareholders and your forecast, and you get where I'm going, right? So in that conservative outlook, what does that mean for what was projected for 2026 in terms of your average payout for dividends is scheduled to increase this year? You know that's going to be the question, Ivan. So it's scheduled to increase this year. Does the conservative outlook change that projection? Because based on the lower end and upper end of what you have projected, that would still mean an increase for this year. Is that still reasonable to expect, given that you're probably going to be considering dividends 3 weeks from now, I believe, or 2 weeks from now?
Yeah, that's reasonable to expect. We have given a commitment to pay out all the money that we can, taking into account the operational requirements. But once the operational requirements are met, we have given a commitment to pay out all additional dividends, all different additional amounts as dividends to the shareholders. So we're continuing to project an increase in profitability for the organization. We've had a 17% increase in profitability 2025 over 2024. And therefore, I think it's reasonable to expect that we will continue the trend. That's obviously a decision that the board is going to make. And yes, we tend to pay dividends twice a year. And yes, we have a meeting. Whenever we have those meetings, we tell our shareholders that those meetings are coming up and that the board will make those decisions at that point.
Okay, and my final question for now would be, so you mentioned US $215 million in debt, I believe, well, liabilities. What does it look like? Walk us through. So getting to the upper end of that dividend projection would mean an estimated, well, it would be about double what you're paying now annually. I don't know how far ahead you plan. I assume you plan, pretty far ahead, but what do you see, for example, when you're able to get that liabilities down in terms of what's the ceiling is what I'm asking for a potential annual dividend payout? Could be 3 years from now, 5 years from now. What do you see once the debt comes down?
Well, as Suzanne mentioned, the debt is gradually coming down, and you see that over the past 5 years as it comes down. The debt will be fully repaid in 2034, I think it is. I think it's 2033, 2033 or 2034. So obviously, as the debt comes down, you would have seen our IPO projections. The expected dividend yield would obviously increase towards the end and get to its highest level.
So a $1 dividend?
Sorry?
$1 dividend per year? Just asking, because I'm sure you have like a ceiling in mind. So of course I'm not saying you're going to do that
no
this year.
Ceiling.
No ceiling.
We will pay out all of the
okay.
funds that we have.
Okay.
Once we don't need it for paying debt service, for maintaining the highway, for doing rehabilitation work, all that will be paid out.
Which means if you make, let's say, for example, 50 million per year in profits now, not revenues, then maybe 40 million of that would go to the dividends. You get where I'm going, Ivan. Am I asking too?
We'll pay out all the money that we can.
Okay. All right, that's it for me. Thank you.
Any other questions?
So good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Nicholas Williams, a junior analyst at Proven. I saw it was mentioned that you guys plan for Q2 to have the T tags fully implemented. Are there any other special projects you guys intend to take on for 2026?
The
Right.
T tag.
Yeah, based on the slides.
Oh, right. So let me just talk a little bit about our T tag project.
Yes.
So as I mentioned, you're seeing the number of people using the manual lanes coming down.
Yes.
So in fact, in December, well, in January, we hit the highest ever T-tag usage. We're up to 54%. So more people are now using the T-tag than are actually using cash at the toll lanes to pay. Colin mentioned obviously we've been using credit cards at the toll plaza now for 2 years, maybe close to 2 years. And we've now, as Colin mentioned, implemented the first phase of our Tap and Go project. So this is where the credit card point of sale machines are interlinked to the toll system.
Okay.
So that when you tap on the credit card machine, it actually, once it's approved, it actually opens the toll barrier. So we've implemented a number of point of sale machines which can do that, and we're now rolling that out to all of the toll lanes throughout all the plazas. The next phase, which Colin mentioned, is unattended.
Could you
So
repeat?
unattended. So right now we have what we call attended. So when you drive up, the toll teller gives you the machine and you tap on it. The next phase, which is what Colin talked about, is what we call unattended,
Okay.
where the machine is actually just fixed on the side of the toll booth. You drive up and you just tap on the machine and you proceed without the need to have an attendant.
Understood. Nice.
Thanks,
That's it for
Nicholas.
my question.
Good morning.
Good
Renee
morning.
McDonald from Learn Grow Invest. I have a keen interest in ESG, so congrats on the movement there. I wanted to know, you had mentioned about solar at Portmore, right, Colin? Is it the plan to roll it out across all the plazas? And for the rainwater harvesting, is that already across the board or is it at a particular toll?
Right, so we actually have solar across all our toll plazas.
Okay.
So all our toll plazas have solar panels. What we don't have at all our plazas is what Colin mentioned, battery storage.
Okay.
So this year, or last year, we implemented a 500 kilowatt battery storage, which then takes us through the night. Typically, as you know, with solar, if you don't have battery, then you have to buy power.
So it's the
from
battery
JPS.
storage that allowed the 35% decrease in JPS usage.
Yes.
Gotcha,
yes,
gotcha.
For Portmore.
Okay.
So this year we'll roll that out at Vineyards, that's our, and possibly also at Tollgate, adding battery storage to those plazas.
Okay,
And
awesome.
yes, we have rainwater harvesting at all our toll plazas. We have, how much, Colin? Maybe a few thousand gallons of rainwater storage at our toll plazas.
All right, great. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Demetrius Fearman, newly on the Learn Grow Invest team. So one evening I was on the Vineyards leg of the toll, and yes, while T-Tag subscription or T-Tag usage has gone up, a major thing that I've been seeing is still traffic. And we know that Jamaicans are very indisciplined, so they'll be switching lanes. So is there any infrastructure change that will aid in people keeping to their lanes? And also, I've seen that the T-tags periodically have, for a lack of a better word, malfunctioned. So your car will be at the kiosk of the T-tag or whatever, and it's not quite picking up your card, and then attendant has to come and maybe restart the system, and then it causes another backlog of traffic. I've even seen you one evening out there directing the traffic. I was going to say something. I said, okay, good. At least the CEO is here showing his face. I like that. So is there any infrastructure change or technological improvement that's going to be done to maybe speed up the efficiency of the T-tags?
Thanks, Demetrius, for that question. Actually, our uptime for our toll lanes is actually, where is it, in excess of 99%. So our toll lanes are pretty efficient at working. Obviously, when somebody comes up, there are all kind of issues that affect why the tag may not read. What we've been seeing is, for example, people having the tag in their hand, and they try to put it up on the windscreen because they want to use it in another vehicle, so they don't fix it to the windscreen, and that also creates an issue. We expect to get a few hundred, what we call hanging tags, this month, Colin. This month or next month. So these tags will allow them to be hung on the rear view mirror, and therefore people won't have to be holding them in their hand and putting them up.
Great.
We have also upgraded the tags themselves. A lot of people don't know that, but we had an issue last year with our tags. So we have actually been replacing our tags with newer tags, which are a lot more responsive to the antennas, making it more efficient and being able to go through quicker. So there are a number of things going on. Hopefully those things will improve. As we said, with the increase in tag usage, we've also dedicated more lanes for tags. So when you're going through vineyards now, at the peak periods, you should see, for example, 2 tag lanes going west in the afternoon. And similarly, coming east in the morning, you have 2 tag lanes again. And that also deals with somebody who drives into the lane, don't have any cash, and then trying to reverse. So we have an alternative at all our plazas now.
Great.
So those things should improve as we go along.
And I'm guessing the tap and go will also be in the T-tag line. So even if they don't have the cash, they can
Right.
go
So
through.
the objective of the unattended tap and go is to also begin to migrate that into some of the toll lanes. So you don't have to go into a manual lane if you're using tap and go. So that's the objective. So once we have tap and go unattended implemented, we'll migrate it into the toll lanes first and then see how that rolls out.
Great. Thank you very much.
No problem, Demetrius. I know you have a tag, right? We have tags for anybody who don't have. We do. Anybody who need a tag. And we have a sale. I didn't mention that, right? We have a sale until the 20th. $1,250, half off the tags. So anybody who need a tag, we can organize one.
We believe in extending Valentine consideration beyond the food.
The money is in
Well,
And you can top up your partner as well, through WhatsApp. You can always top them up as well.
Any other questions?
No more questions?
Going once?
So if there are no more questions, I want to thank you very much for coming to our fourth quarter investor briefing. I think we have some snacks outside. And we look forward to seeing you at our next investor briefing and our AGM in July. We'll send out a notification for those shortly. Thank you very much, everyone.